What does a user experience designer do? Most people, when they think of a user experience designer, they immediately think of UI or user interface design and wireframes or perhaps prototypes. The truth is, UI is the last part of a much larger process in designing. My favorite breakdown of the scope of work for a user experience designer comes from the book Elements of the User Experience, which I highly recommend for any and everybody wanting to move their career into user experience design. And I'll include a link to that in the description. It'll give you an excellent grasp of all the skills and concepts that a user experience designer needs. This, however, will be a higher level explanation for someone who just wants to understand the full scope of what a user experience designer should be expected to do. So just in case prototypes aren't your thing, you can understand that there are many things that you can still do under the umbrella of user experience design. The first and highest level is strategy. This is a combination of what users need from what we provide and what are the objectives of the business or product in question. While it may not be a user experience designer's job to determine business goals or objectives, they have to be kept in mind at every other level. Working towards anything that doesn't meet business objectives is essentially just wasting time, and therefore you must understand the measures for success so you can work towards them. Strategically, as a user experience designer, you might be helping identify things like brand identity, which brand identity definitely has impacts down the line in design decisions. Additionally, you may be involved in user segmentation activities that will eventually get pared down into interview and data-driven deliverables like personas and archetypes. The next level is scope. This is basically what the product features are centered around. At this point, you are really defining what can be called functional specifications or content requirements. For example, an app like Spotify focuses on playing music, creating playlists, providing radio stations, etc. Many of the users of Spotify might need help with taxes, but that's outside of the scope of Spotify's features and content requirements. This part of the process also includes determining the prioritization of the said functional and content requirements. Third on the list is structure. This includes concepts like interaction design and information architecture. Here, we are finally getting into more concrete factors of the final experience. Interaction design is basically the strategy around how users will interact to the system and the paradigms around it. It establishes patterns around how the system will behave so users can use the system effectively and learn the system quickly. Interaction design includes outputs like concept models, which allow consistent design decisions, like how the system reacts to specific types of actions or errors. For content-heavy sites, this includes information architecture or how information will be organized. Think like a dictionary versus like Nike.com versus like Wikipedia. Fourth is the skeleton. At this point, you're making decisions of information design or the presentation of information that allows your user base to understand what it is your app is doing. This includes interface design and navigation design. At this point, you are deciding how things will be organized to accomplish the tasks of your end users. Things like the placement of elements on the page and how users will navigate the site. Buttons, drop-downs, menus, and all. Long story short, wireframes. Last but not least is the surface level. This is when you're making the final design decisions, if you will. Colors, font, style. You're very much creating the final look and feel here. Design comps and style guides are the outputs of this final level. One important thing to keep in mind is that these things don't necessarily happen in a waterfall-like fashion from top to bottom. These things, especially in an agile world, are consistently being revisited, refined, and reconceptualized at every level. So, did that help? Do you have more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll answer you there, or I'll make a follow-up video to answer your questions. So don't forget to subscribe so you can be kept in the loop on what you want to know. Thanks for watching.